NCDR Orientation Number 10, Submit to DQR and System Alerts. It's important to note that the ACC Online Data Collection Tool is not available to participants who use third-party vendor software. Once you migrate to a third-party vendor, you will no longer have access to the ACC's data collection tool. If you are using third-party vendor software, please contact your vendor for data collection tool tutorials or troubleshooting requests. Submission to the DQR process and system alerts will be the focus of this orientation session. In the previous orientation session, we learned that system alerts are created by the quality check process when a critical error has not been addressed by the abstractor. This initial error warning lets you know that your data will not be permitted to be sent to the DQR process until the error is corrected. The system alerts are apparent on the episode search functionality for the patient causing the error, as well as on the Submit to DQR page in the right column of the submission grid. Before we learn how to correct the system alerts, we must first understand what it means to submit to the DQR. As you know by now, the DQR is the data quality review, and to submit to the DQR is simply referencing that you are ready to send your data to NCDR's data warehouse for evaluation. How does this process work? Data submitted to NCDR, either through upload data or submit to DQR, and if you remember, upload data is that functionality for third-party vendors, and submit to DQR is for ACC Online tool users. Either way, data is submitted to the DQR process via the upload data link or submit to DQR process. The data, regardless, is being sorted by discharge dates by the system and is being sent to be evaluated for completeness and accuracy once you click on Submit. Regardless of which data collection tool you're using, the ACC or third-party vendor, the process becomes the same for all NCDR participants at the point of the data entering the DQR process for evaluation. The only caveat is that if you have system alerts, you will not be able to get this step until you have fixed the issue causing the system alert. NCDR harvests data for review only on data which is eligible for review. No system alerts are allowed. All data submitted to the DQR process is evaluated based on preset thresholds for completeness and data assessments as determined by NCDR. Once the data has been reviewed, usually occurring within 5 to 10 minutes, a benchmark inclusion status will be assigned in the format of a green, yellow, or red dot. What is a benchmark inclusion? This is a determination whether your data submission for that specific quarter has met all of the NCDR qualifications and is clean enough to be included in an aggregate with other NCDR facilities. This determination results in what data is reported in your quarterly outcomes report. In order for your facility to be included in any given quarter, you must achieve a green dot status for each individual quarter aggregated. What do these statuses mean? A green light means the data you have submitted to date for this particular quarter is green, which is good. And as long as you do not add more patients in this quarter or edit the information within the quarter, you're good to go. Remember, though, that you may submit to the DQR process as many times as you would like or need to within a defined quarter. If you are on a schedule of submitting data to the DQR daily or weekly, it's important to note that your DQR status will be updated each and every time you submit the quarter file to the DQR process. So although your submission is green, if you add to or edit the data, you will need to resubmit to the DQR process and get a new status. You will repeat this process until all of your patients are entered and submitted for a particular quarter. Once you are done, please make sure your final submission is in a green dot status to maximize the usefulness of your hard work. With green dot statuses, you, your administration, and your facility will reap the full benefits of participating with the NCDR registries. A yellow light means that your data was received and processed by the DQR process, but there are some items which require your attention before the data will be considered high enough quality to be aggregated with other NCDR participants. Sometimes you will receive a yellow status because of the data assessment, which is an assessment of logic, and sometimes you will receive a yellow status because of your elements not meeting the threshold, which is an assessment of your completeness. What does this mean? To put it in the most simple terms, every data element is assigned a threshold percentage of which must be met. So for example, if you have entered 100 patients into the database, and NCDR has established that the threshold for, let's say, eye color as an example, sequence number 9999, is 90%, the system will ensure that out of the 100 patients eligible for review, at least 90 of those patients must have an eye color selected. If you have only answered 89 with eye color, you will be issued a yellow dot status in the DQR as you have not met the threshold. You will not get a green dot status until you have answered the required 90 patients for this sequence number. So this review process continues for every sequence number in every registry. Now, technically, it's a lot more complicated as there are different tiers of thresholds, but for now, this will give you the basic idea. It's also important to note that yellow dot status quarters will show up in your quarterly outcomes reports in the representative column, but the data will not be aggregated with any other data from any other quarter. Red light means that your data, although you made it past the quality check, was not good enough for the data warehouse to accept. There are critical coding errors in the file which must be addressed. You will need to fix the errors and resubmit to the DQR process to advance. It's important to note that the DQR report will be discussed in the next section, and the details about correcting these fails will be explained. Just as a reminder, if you use a third-party vendor for uploading data, you will need to use the Upload Data Submission functionality, which is not a part of the ACC Online Data Collection tool. Use the Upload Data Submissions link only if you have migrated and/or using third-party vendor software. Additionally, if you are using the ACC Online Data Collection tool for data submission, do not use the Upload Data Submission link. If you are not using the ACC Online Data Collection tool, you will not have access to the following to submit to the DQR. If you're using the ACC Online Data Collection tool for your data submission, remember to click Data at the left navigation bar. Then click Data Collection Tool at the left navigation bar. And click NCDR Maintenance at the top left navigation of the Data Collection tool, and that will open up Submit to DQR. From this screen, you will see the column at the right of the data submission grid labeled System Alerts. You will also notice that some of the quarter data rows have a blue 1. In this column for System Alerts, but others have a 0. As demonstrated in 2014 quarter 4, this quarter contains one patient file with a system alert. Note the blue 1 in the system alerts column and the deactivated checkbox at the left with a red outline. Alternatively, 2014 quarter 2 does not have a system alert as demonstrated by the 0, and the checkbox at the left is activated. You may only submit data to the DQR if the checkbox is activated and the system alerts is 0. So here is the big question from orientation session number 9. How do we get rid of system alerts caused by errors in the quality check? First, you'll need to identify those quarters which have system alerts, which is pretty basic. Simply look at the right column. If you see a blue number in this column, this number acts as a link to the patient form which is causing the system alert. Simply click on the link. You will be taken to the episode page for this patient, where you will be able to open up the episode of care which is causing the system alert. Here is the issue. Patient ID 283-6403, last name Jack, first name Apple, discharged on 11/15/2013, and there's a system alert. Click on the pad and pencil icon to open up the patient form. Once the patient form is open, perform a quality check, and that will tell you what's wrong in that file. Remember, errors mean the system will not authorize you to submit to the DQR process, and warnings mean you may submit, but you may have a key punch mistake which needs to be reviewed and verified. So, what's causing the system alert and keeping you from submitting data to the DQR? The error. The error message in this scenario communicates that the PCI is yes and the discharge status is alive. The discharge location is either home, nursing home, extended care, etc. However, discharge medication information is missing. So that's the problem. So now that you know what to do, you need to go back to this patient form and correct it. How do you get there? You actually have to manually go back to the data sequence number or the numbers identified in the error message. In this case, complete the discharge medications, save the corrections, and perform another quality check to make sure the error is gone. Once you confirm the error is gone, you may go back to the DQR. Go to the submission page and submit your data to the DQR process. Review the right-hand column to confirm the system alert is gone and submit your data. Now, obviously, this is just an example slide, but the important information to note is that the system alert is 0 and the checkbox at the left-hand side is live. This is the combination you must have to successfully submit to the DQR process. Incidentally, the submit button is at the bottom of the page. Once you submit your data, you will have an immediate record of the current status of that submission. The submission quarter lets you know what quarter was submitted. Date received provides a date and time stamp as validation that the submission took place. And the submission status will let you know where your submission is within the evaluation process, which usually, as I said, takes between 5 or 10 minutes. The submission status will go from in queue to in process to completed. Once completed, you may review your submission results and see how you did. Next up in the NCDR orientation is orientation number 11, the DQR report.